Philadelphia Eagles, Green Bay Packers, Monday Night Football, everything you need to know in 15 minutes. If you've never been here before, welcome. My name is Max. I make these for every primetime game, as well as every game on Sunday, to give you a unique edge, looking at coverage data, run scheme metrics, and overall trends nobody talks about because it relates to the scheme behind the game instead of just the numbers you see on the screen. Without further ado, let's get into this breakdown. If you guys are new, in the description, there's a link to all my socials. Make sure you're locked in. And if you're coming back and you've liked these videos before, make sure you do leave a like on this one. It helps me out a ton. Philadelphia, Green Bay, the bottom line with the Eagles defense is they're moderately unpredictable in terms of what they do well, what they don't do well, the coverages they run, the blitzes they send. But when they're faced with one-on-ones, especially on the outside, they have not been able to win without Jair Alexander. That's a very important aspect of this because if you guys remember, Eagles are using or acquired Jair Alexander, and we don't know how much he's going to play. They're coming off a bye, so he's got an extra week or so to learn the system. But I think even if he's playing 30, 40% of snaps as a number 2 corner, it's an upgrade to what they got. In terms of data outliers, there's nothing really that sticks out in terms of good when you're looking at the Packers offense. They're below average technically, but they're okay to below average against the run. They're not in the bottom 10 category, which is usually where I draw the line. They're from like 11 to 15-ish in terms of yards per carry, yards per game, explosive run percentage. They're not average. They're a little bit below it, but they're not that bad that we got to make a big note out of it. And then on the other side, the bad ones, if you're looking at a guy like Luke Musgrave, they're giving up the third fewest tight end receptions. They're not targeted there a bunch. That, to me, pushes me away from Luke Musgrave. The coverage data we'll talk about here in a second, but the most important trend here for the Eagles is that they're top 10 in man-to-man. And I honestly think that says a lot about Vic Fangio in this defense because they're top 10 in man-to-man with, for lack of a better term, underperforming corners. Like the guys on the outside, the number 2s, even guys on the inside. I think Cooper DeJean's been solid this year, but guys on the inside, if you got to roll a dime down, they haven't been great, and they're playing a little more middle field closed. Love versus man-to-man and middle field closed is really complicated because number 1, the most highly targeted in terms of target percentage receiver player is Dontavian Wicks. His target rate almost triples against man compared to zone, but he's hurt. We don't know if he's playing. He's going to be right now. Don't know. At the time I'm recording this, as always, in the description, in the comments, there will be injury updates, but he's the highest target percentage. Will he play? I don't know. Next is Tucker Kraft, who is not playing. He's done for the year. So the top 2 players in terms of man-to-man usage, one is not playing and the other may not either. So there's a lot of opportunity, number 1, but number 2, unpredictability. Like Romeo Doubs is the 3rd in terms of highest target percentage against man. He's going to play on the outside, but now we talk about Christian Watson. Is he going to step up on the outside? What are they going to do with Matthew Golden? Like, there's a lot of questions, but the most important aspect, or 2 most important aspects of this, that because Tucker Kraft was so heavily used, Musgrave, who has not been involved as much because he hasn't been playing much, but also just isn't targeted against man much, is going to have a pretty nice opportunity based on what the Packers want to do. But what the Packers want to do over here is not necessarily what the Eagles are going to allow them to do over here. Like we talked about, there's a reason they're giving up the 3rd fewest tight end receptions. They've given up 1 touchdown to opposing tight ends all year long. I don't love it. I really don't. But the opportunity based on what Tucker Kraft has left, the shoes basically he's left to fill, is there. The most important thing here, though, is Christian Watson being the most explosive, healthy Packer. He is dominating in terms of yards per out run, dominating in terms of average depth of target, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's insane. He is the most explosive, healthy Packer. I can't tell you how many times last year we did these breakdowns and saw Christian Watson against a man-heavy team. We're like, yep, he's making a big play or he's going to have a good game. That's what it is. Jordan Love loves to throw him the football. And on the other side, they're going to, I think, allow those targets because you look at these target rates. The Eagles are targeted on the outside at a top 3 rate. That's the majority of where Christian Watson runs his routes from. Not all of them. But the most important thing here with Love is to know that he doesn't love to throw the ball out wide. No pun intended. Extremely high inline rate and running back target rate. So Josh Jacobs should be involved, but a very low slot and out wide target rate. So this is really tough because what the Eagles should allow the Packers to do, Jordan Love doesn't throw to. What Jordan Love likes to do, the Eagles are pretty good against. So to me, this is kind of a crapshoot in terms of what you can expect from the Packers. But there are 2 other things. There are 2 people or 2 things I do like in that sense. Number 1, I mean, you look at the run scheme metrics here. Again, Philadelphia is allowing, this should be 120, not 210, 4.44 yards per carry and 120 plus rush yards per game. Now, Green Bay is a zone-heavy team. They're solid in their zone world. And the Eagles are a little bit better against zone compared to man gap, but it's not super noticeable, and they've seen a lot less of it. So I think Green Bay has an advantage on the ground if they stick to it. If they stick to it, if they stick to it. The Eagles have been pushed around by offenses before on the ground. I think it could happen again. I think it's absolutely worth looking at that, especially because the passing target rates, like we talked about, don't really match up. Christian Watson's going to have a big catch or two for us to really heavily lean into him. And to be honest with you, I don't know how much I don't know how much zone the Eagles are going to play against a team they probably feel like they line up really well against. So looking at the two players to watch outside of Josh Jacobs, I do like Josh Jacobs a lot. The big names here, Christian Watson, because they're being targeted on the outside, one of the highest rates. They're also allowing 157 yards per game to opposing wide receivers, which is super important to note. Watson's average depth of target, this is the most important thing, 25 plus yards, more than 25 yards down the field. It's a small sample size. He's only had a few targets, but it is a small sample size that we got to lean into. 25 plus yards down the field. Jordan Love's going to take his shots down the field to Christian Watson. I think he should have opportunities against a team that's played a lot of man and will probably play more because they like the matchups they have. And then Dontavian Wicks is the other guy. Like, because this Packers offense is so unpredictable, you have to find the strongest data point. Even if Dontavian Wicks is banged up, playing 60 to 70% of snaps, I like him. I like him. On the other side, the Packers defense, the bottom line is they're going to get after the quarterback and stop the run, but can they stop the tight end position? That is the most important thing. You look at these game logs against the Green Bay Packers, man, it is a tough go, especially against the good tight ends that they've played. So they've been solid in recent games, right? They were solid against the Steelers. The Panthers don't throw their tight ends, so I don't even throw that play. Trey McBride, a good tight end, a tight end that's heavily used in the pass game, 10 catches, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. They allowed Tanner Hudson to get into the end zone. They allowed Jake Ferguson to get in the end zone, as well as catch 7 balls. David Njoku, Harold Fannin, you kind of go back and forth on that because, I mean, they're tight end 1A and 1B in the offense. Combined 8 catches for 65 yards, and Cleveland's offense is not very good. Zach Ertz, 664 to touchdown, then Sam Laporta, 6 for 79. If there's one place the Green Bay Packers have struggled this year, it's the tight end position. They're giving up 7 a game, as well as 10th most running back receptions. Now, with the running back receptions, it's important to note that Green Bay's gotten better as the year has gone on, and that number's kind of inflated by the big 10-catch game Jahmyr Gibbs had in week 1, but they've gotten better as the year has gone on, and they're really good against the run. They're really good against the run, 5th fewest rush yards per game, as well as the 10th fewest pass yards per game. Like I said, they're going to get after the quarterback. They're going to force you into some non-desirable situations, but they're going to play a lot of zone. That's what they do. They play more zone. They've become more balanced this year than they were last year. Last year, they're a little more middle field closed heavy, but now they're more balanced. But they're still going to play a ton of zone. Devontae Smith versus A.J. Brown against zone. It's Smith. Smith is the main guy. I mean, he's got more targets, more receptions, much higher yards per out run, and a higher target percentage. The most important thing against zone, though, with Jalen Hurts, the biggest uptick in terms of target percentage, and this happens with a bunch of quarterbacks. It's not just Jalen Hurts, but it is true for Jalen Hurts. The running backs are targeted at a much more frequent rate. Like Saquon Barkley is targeted at a much more frequent rate. Frequent rate. I got to practice that. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Dillon is the other guy, but Tank Bigsby, you look at the snap count from 2 weeks ago against the New York Giants. I mean, he is very clearly the number 2, and he had 100 yards in the process. Now, part of that was because Saquon came out of the game. Part of that was because the Giants' run defense is that bad. But with Dillon out, Will Shipley is a guy who's probably going to play a little bit less than Tank Bigsby. His highest snap total of the year last week, 2 weeks ago, and he made the most of it. That's the bottom line. So a guy like Tank Bigsby receiving, a guy like Saquon Barkley, I like those guys. And Dallas Goedert does see an uptick against zone, so it's important to note that as well. Jalen Hurts is highest comparative target rate to slot, out wide, inline, running back is the slot. Like, he likes to keep the ball between the hashes. He's better at it, I think. But his playmakers are on the outside, so he's always going to throw the ball on the outside. Moderately high out wide target rate, average inline rate, and he doesn't throw the running back position a lot. When he does, it's the zone-heavy teams. You go look at these game logs for the Philadelphia Eagles, and you can see like the better running back receiving performances. Like Saquon had 4 catches against Dallas, who played a ton of cover 2. That's the reason. Again, a team like Tampa Bay, who will play a decent amount of zone, he's got 4 catches. Minnesota's interesting because they do play a lot of zone, but it's more middle field open than balanced. He only had a catch there. But the bottom line is when he has these bigger performances against teams like Dallas, against teams like the Rams. It's a more zone-heavy approach. Defensive target rates, the Packers are targeted out wide at a top 10 rate, which blows my mind because they do still play a lot of cover too. Like they cloud corners and they try to take your wide receiver ones, and the Eagles have 2 wide receiver ones out of the game, but they're still being targeted out there. Extremely low slot target rate, extremely low, moderately heavy inline and running back target rate. In terms of the run scheme metrics, they're only allowing 89.1 rush yards per game and less than 4 yards per carry. They're a good run defense. Philadelphia is a zone-heavy team, but here's the thing. They're way better in man gap, like more explosive, more yards per carry. They just don't run them as much. It's not who they are. Saquon's just explosive in that world. Packers a little worse versus man gap, which is worth noting, but nothing of serious note. 2 players to watch. Dallas Goedert again. Green Bay is allowing 7 full receptions per game. 2 tight ends are targeted at the inline tight end spot at a top 10 rate. Obviously, A.J. Brown is healthy. Saquon Barkley is healthy. I'm looking at these running backs to have decent receiving games as a result. The Packers are targeted out of the backfield at a top 5 rate. In terms of the red zone edge, the Eagles are unbelievable in the red zone, guys. Like, it's kind of crazy. They're scoring 85% of the time they are in the red zone, which is absolutely insane, absolutely bonkers. And it is worth noting, Green Bay is good too. Like, Green Bay is scoring essentially 6 of every 10 tries, which is a pretty solid number, but Philadelphia is just that good. And then when the defense has to make a stop in the end in the red zone, Philadelphia is the 3rd best. Like, to me, this is a team that will bend but not break, a team that will score when they're in the red zone. And again, Green Bay is good in the red zone offensively, but bad in the red zone defensively. So I do think that Philadelphia has the red zone edge, but call me crazy, I think Green Bay has the line of scrimmage edge. Now, Cam Jurgens, the time I'm recording this, he was not practicing. We don't fully know yet, but they get after the quarterback. That's the bottom line. I mean, not just Micah Parsons. In terms of sacks allowed, Green Bay does not give up a ton. They're giving up 1.4 sacks per game. And as insane as it seems, Philadelphia, guys, is way down this list. They are 26th in the NFL in terms of sacks allowed per game, giving up more than 3 per game. The pride of the offensive line is not as good as it once was in Philadelphia, and I think that's largely because of injury. But when you're getting after the quarterback, and again, Jalen Phillips may help in this game for Philadelphia as well. I mean, Green Bay is getting after him at a decent rate, and Philadelphia's not. That's why they traded for Jalen Phillips, but Green Bay is averaging almost 3 full sacks a game, and Philadelphia is just barely averaging 2. So I do think that Green Bay has the edge along the line of scrimmage, but if I'm being fully honest with you guys, I do think Philadelphia off a bye takes this game on the road. It's a really tough one. I think they could have some success on the ground. I think they win this game. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a close one, but I think Philadelphia takes it. As always, if you guys are new, please do subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. God bless you guys. We'll see you next time.